In a run-down part of the city where the lampposts flickered and potholes were more common than pavement, lived Elias Gray, a former literature teacher turned janitor. Once respected in classrooms, Elias now swept mall floors and emptied trash cans at night. He was quiet, polite, and ignored just how the city liked its poor. Elias's daily comfort was his evening walks through the city park, his only reminder of the world's beauty. That's where he saw the golden retriever for the first time. Dirty, limping, collarless. It wasn't just a dog. It looked lost, scared, and expensive, despite having little himself. Elias brought the dog home, sharing his last of tuna and old blanket. He called her Hope. Elias put up hand-drawn flyers around town. Found golden retriever. Well cared for. Call if yours. No one called for days. But on the fourth morning, a sleek black Range Rover pulled up to his tiny apartment building. A sharply dressed man stepped out. Sterling Dane, CEO of Dane Tech, one of the city's biggest tech empires. The man had cold eyes and wore success like a weapon. Sterling barely looked at Elias. His eyes darted to the dog. "There you are, Daisy," he said flatly, snapping his fingers. Hope, Daisy, backed away. "She's been with me for almost a week," Elias said softly. "She's been scared. She wouldn't eat for 2 days. Sterling sneered. "I'm sure you mean well, but this is a purebred, worth more than whatever you make a year." He handed Elias a $100 bill. Elias didn't take it. "I didn't do it for money." Sterling dropped the bill on the ground, clipped the leash, and turned to leave, but not before saying, "People like you always want something, even if you don't say it." Elias picked up the bill, not for greed, but because it would have felt wasteful to leave it. But in his chest, something broke. A week passed. Then 2. Life returned to its quiet gray rhythm until one morning Elias woke up to a knock. Not at his apartment, but at his soul. He received a letter. The dog, Hope, Daisy, whatever her name truly was, had run away again. But this time, she didn't end up lost. She ended up at Elias's door, bruised, starving, whimpering, and on her collar was a strange device. Elias, confused, tapped the button. A voice recording played. Daisy cam active. Owner location, recorded. Unauthorized environment detected. Daisy was wired. She had been tracked. But now, something was off. The collar held GPS data and micro-recordings. Curious and cautious, Elias visited a friend, B, a tech-savvy single mom who owed Elias a favor. She decrypted the collar's memory card. What they found was shocking. Multiple clips of Sterling yelling at employees, talking about offloading toxic waste, even falsifying reports. And worst, there were recordings of Sterling arguing with a woman and a cry, a child's cry. BEA's hands trembled. This could bury him. Elias stared at the screen in BEA's living room. The dog's collar had unknowingly recorded months of Sterling's most private and incriminating moments. It was clear Daisy, Hope, had been escaping for a reason. B leaned forward. This footage, it could destroy him. Elias's hand shook. "I'm not looking to destroy anyone." B frowned. "Elias, this man humiliated you. And for what I just saw, he's hurting more than just pride." Elias looked down at Hope, who curled up beside his leg. "I just wanted to return a lost dog," he whispered. But the situation had become far more complicated than he ever imagined. 2 days later, a letter arrived. No postage. Hand-delivered. Inside was a thick envelope and a typed message. $10,000 for your silence. I know what you found. Return the device. Disappear. SD. Elias was stunned. He stared at the money and wondered how Sterling knew he had accessed the collar's data. He remembered the old quote he used to teach in literature class. All that is required for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And he was tired of doing nothing. Elias and be scheduled a meeting with Maya Torres, a hard-hitting investigative journalist known for exposing the elite. Maya reviewed the footage and her face turned pale. This could spark a federal investigation. Elias hesitated. "Do you think people will care?" Maya's voice turned sharp. "They'll care when they find out how much he's stolen and who he's silenced." She promised to protect Elias's identity, initially, but secrets that big have a way of leaking. 2 nights later, Elias's apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, except hope. His heart shattered. A note was left taped to the empty dog bowl. You had your chance. Elias collapsed on the floor. Bea arrived soon after, and what she saw broke her. She put her hand on his shoulder. We're not backing down now. Not after this. Maya Torres released a full expose titled, "The Dog Who Knew Too Much," the Sterling Dane cover-up. The video featured pixelated footage, distorted voice interviews, and concrete evidence from Daisy's collar, dumping sites, embezzlement, even child labor contracts overseas. The internet exploded. News anchors scrambled, and Sterling Dane's empire began to tremble. But then something unexpected happened. Sterling went live. He held a press conference flanked by lawyers. This man, Elias Gray, fabricated this evidence. He manipulated footage using AI, and he stole my dog. He then played a doctored clip of Elias speaking to Bea about taking him down. Bea gasped, "He's twisting it all." The public was divided. Half believed Elias. Half didn't. But one person remained silent. Until now. A young woman appeared online. Her name was Isla Dane, Sterling's estranged daughter. She posted a video. "I ran away from home 2 years ago. That man, he's not just cruel. He's dangerous. That dog, Daisy, she was my only friend. When I left, she stayed behind. If she escaped to Elias, it's because she felt safe." She uploaded photos and childhood videos with Daisy, showing bruises hidden under long sleeves. The tide shifted instantly. Federal agents raided Dane Teka's headquarters. Sterling was arrested, but not before shouting to the cameras, "This is a witch hunt. I'll buy every one of you. This isn't justice, it's jealousy." But no one believed him anymore. The footage, Isla's testimony, the dog's loyalty, it all painted a picture too vivid to deny. And Elias? He became an overnight symbol of integrity. Days later, Elias received a handwritten note. "You didn't just save Daisy. You saved me. I've been invisible for years, just like you, but now I know kindness still exists." And it looks like a janitor with a soft voice. Isla. Inside the envelope was a small charm, a dog paw carved from stone. Hope licked Elias's hand as he read it. He smiled through tears. Elias was offered book deals, interviews, even a movie contract. He declined most of them. Instead, he founded the Hope Shelter, a sanctuary for abandoned pets, and a reading center for underprivileged youth. Reporters kept asking him, "Why didn't you take the money?" He always replied with a quiet smile, "Because the reward wasn't money." He looked at Hope curled at his feet and added, "It was being seen, and giving someone else that gift." In the weeks after Sterling Dane's arrest, the city buzzed with scandal. News vans camped outside the courthouse. Influencers dissected every twist. And hashtags like hashtag #DogThatExposed and hashtag Elias the Janitor trended worldwide. But Elias stayed quiet. He refused interviews, declined celebrity talk shows. Even when publishers offered him large advances to write a book, he turned them away. He wasn't trying to become famous. He was just trying to heal. At the corner of 5th and Marlin, Elias rented a tiny space for what he called a Hope Shelter, named not just for the dog, but for what she had restored in him. He posted a hand-painted sign. Free story time. Hot cocoa. Dogs welcome. That Saturday, only one kid showed up. A girl in oversized clothes and sad eyes named Anaya. Elias read to her from the Velveteen Rabbit, while Hope lay beside her, head on her lap. At the end of the session, Anaya whispered, "You read like my dad used to before he left." Elias handed her a book to keep. Something told him she'd be back. Bea helped him digitize his story sessions, and soon, videos of Elias reading with kids and dogs curled around their feet began spreading online. A billionaire philanthropist, Joelle Hart, noticed. She showed up unannounced. "I watched all your clips," she said, brushing dog hair off her designer coat. "You don't need money. You need space." A week later, she transferred ownership of an abandoned public library to Elias. No strings attached. Hope's sanctuary was reborn on a larger scale. From jail, Sterling pulled his final card. He filed a $10 million defamation lawsuit against Elias, Maya, and Isla. The goal wasn't justice. It was intimidation. Elias was served the court documents while walking home with Hope. The weight of the system, the same one that ignored his years of service, the same one that overlooked the truth for wealth, was coming down on him again. He looked over the papers and whispered, "He's not just fighting you, he's trying to break you." But this time, Elias wasn't alone. Thousands of people rallied. Hashtag surged. A crowdfunding campaign raised over $750,000 in a matter of days. Even more powerful, letters from across the country. "I grew up with no dad, but your voice filled something empty in me. Thank you for making books cool again. You taught my son how to be kind just by being you." And one that simply read, "I was in my life last month, but I saw you reading to those kids. You saved me without even knowing." The courtroom was packed. Sterling, flanked by his army of attorneys, sat smugly. Elias wore the same corduroy jacket he'd owned since his teaching days. Hope, officially recognized as a therapy animal, sat calmly by his side. Sterling's lawyers called Elias a publicity thief, manipulator, and emotional opportunist. But then Maya played the unedited recordings from the collar, this time paired with financial records, employee testimonies, and Isla's journals. It wasn't just a defense. It was a revelation. The courtroom fell silent. After 4 tense days of testimony, the jury returned. Sterling Dane's lawsuit? Dismissed with prejudice. He was further charged with conspiracy to tamper with evidence and perjury during the initial hearings. As guards escorted him away, Sterling locked eyes with Elias. "You'll fade. People like you always do." But Elias only smiled. "We don't need spotlights to shine." Elias used the crowdfunding money to expand the sanctuary. What started as a story time with one kid and one dog grew into a mobile reading van for rural schools, a foster dog training program for troubled teens, scholarships named after hope for children pursuing education in literature or animal care. Isla joined the board as co-director, using her inheritance, frozen until Sterling's conviction, to build outreach centers. B became CTO of the foundation, helping launch the Read with Hope app, pairing stories with animal therapy. Months later, Elias received an invitation from the National History Museum. They wanted to display the original dog collar, handwritten flyers Elias had posted, a copy of the first book he read to Anaya. The exhibit would be titled, "Ordinary Kindness, the Janitor Who Changed Lives." Elias declined the spotlight, but donated the items. He wrote one note for the plaque. "This isn't about me. It's about what we overlook every day. Sometimes what the world throws away is what ends up saving it." One evening, long after the news cameras had moved on, Elias sat on the library steps with Hope curled beside him. Anaya, now taller, more confident, brought him a drawing. It showed Elias with angel wings, reading to kids under a tree. Hope sat at his feet, wearing a tiny crown. She blushed. "It's for you." He looked at it and choked up. "You know," he said softly, "I used to think I had nothing left to give." Anaya grinned. "That's funny, because you gave me everything." Hope barked once, almost like applause, and in the quiet that followed, Elias finally realized the reward was never money. It was hope. Years passed peacefully, and Hope grew older. Her golden coat, now flecked with gray, her steps slower but steady. Then one autumn morning, she collapsed during a reading session. Elias rushed her to the vet, fear suffocating him. The diagnosis, heart failure. The vet looked at him with kind but tired eyes. "She doesn't have much time. Maybe weeks. Maybe days." Elias nodded, blinking back tears. "I just want her to feel safe and loved, the way she had made him feel." Elias held a small ceremony for Hope in the sanctuary garden. The children decorated the area with paper paw prints, and Anaya read the Rainbow Bridge aloud. When the time came, Elias sat beside her, whispering, "You found me when I was lost. You reminded me who I was. Now, I'll carry your name with every child we help. Rest, girl. You did more than enough. Hope passed peacefully in his arms, surrounded by love. Grief came in waves, but Elias turned into purpose. He founded the Hope Legacy Foundation, providing therapy animals to schools, prisons, and hospitals. The collar that once exposed corruption now symbolized compassion. Celebrities offered to become ambassadors. Authors donated royalties. Even former employees of Sterling's company offered pro bono support. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about redemption. Isla, still healing from years under her father's shadow, found a new voice through painting. One of her pieces, "Freedom Looks Like Fur," went viral. It showed Daisy leaping from a burning mansion into Elias's arms. She donated the proceeds to rescue shelters across the country. And when she was invited to speak at TEDx, she ended with this: "My father owned a kingdom, but Elias owned kindness. Guess which one changed the world?" Years later, Elias sat on the same park bench where he had first found Daisy. His hair was white. His bones ached. But his heart was full. Children still ran up to him to read. Dogs still curled at his feet. The world knew his name, but he still introduced himself the same way. "Hi, I'm Elias. I used to be a janitor. Now I just help stories find homes." One crisp morning, he passed away in his sleep, a book in his lap and the paw-shaped charm Isla had given him still around his neck. The city declared that day Hope Day, a celebration of unnoticed kindness and unexpected heroes. Decades later, a young boy walked into Hope Sanctuary. He was shy, mumbled, dirty shoes and a backpack stitched with tape. Anaya, now director, welcomed him in. She handed him a book and said, "We start every visit at the bench." He looked confused. What's so special about a bench? She smiled and pointed outside to the old oak bench beneath the tree. That's where everything began. The boy sat down, opened the book, and read aloud for the first time in his life. Above him, engraved in bronze, were the words: "Sometimes the reward isn't money. It's who you become because of what you gave." E.g., direct hit moral of the story: never underestimate the quiet ones. The janitor, the forgotten teacher, the man who returns a dog, expecting nothing. Because sometimes they end up rewriting the story for all of us.